Alright, we're going to wire this in a little bit differently. We're going to apply two constraints rather than one. Typically, riggers will position this node a little bit lower and put a parent constraint on there. Parent constraint, though, you will have to inherit the pivot point. So I don't want to do that in this case. I want to be able to leave the pivot point in the center of gravity, but have my my controller up away from the vehicle, which is a little easier to grab and control. So I'm going to come in here, and I've got my control. I'm going to select on the top node here, Viper body, so that everything underneath is selected, and spacebar, constrain. I'm going to go ahead and put an orient constraint on there, and reset your settings. Maintain offset, yes, and all. Add that. And now I'm going to come in here and give it another constraint, the point constraint. Again, I'm going to reset, maintain all. Let me add that. Now I can go ahead and rotate this around, and it will do so at the center of gravity that was defined for it before. Of course, you need to have some limitations on this so that you can make sure that you're not going beyond the functionality of the vehicle when you're doing that. Now let's go ahead and put in our global control and our control that will translate the vehicle. We're just going to go to top view and create another couple of controllers here. One that goes out and around the vehicle, and one that is squared off. Oh, I'm just going to go ahead and create a couple more primitives. We'll just put a square out here and move that out. It's a little guy. So we're just going to go ahead and scale that up around the vehicle. This will be our translation node, as I showed you. I'm going to go ahead and come out to the parameters of the other controllers so that it'll be all encompassing. Alright, and we'll go ahead and create another primitive, NURBS primitive, circle. Alright, go ahead and pull that up as well. Stay within the parameter there. And on this one, I'm going to go to side view. I'm going to move this up. It's going to be the node that we're going to translate with, or put the motion capture, the keyframe animation on. Now, the uses for these two nodes is the one on the ground is usually what the game code uses to place the character, in this case a vehicle, into the level, into the world. And it needs to be a separate node than the one that the animations are applied to. So we have a ground global node, a world node that translates everything, and then we have an additional node that we can apply the keyframe animation data to in code. So that said, we'll go ahead and wire these in. The first thing we want to do is go ahead and delete history and freeze transforms on that. Now we can go ahead and apply that. Okay, and the next step is to get the pivot points in the correct place. So we'll go ahead and wire this one in first. And this one has the keyframes of the animation on it, so I typically like to use either the center of gravity, or since this car is rear wheel drive, you'll want to center that on the back axle, the center of the back axle there. So either one works fine. Since you're going to be sliding and tumbling the vehicle or whatever it is that you're doing in your game, sometimes the center of gravity works better. But in this case, we'll go ahead and put it on the back axle, and we'll do it in the same way. Okay, so let's go ahead and hide again. So this geometry, since we're going to align it with the back wheels, we'll leave the wheels on. And with the D key down and the V key depressed, we're just going to go snap that. And I can't really see the center of that, so let's zoom in. Go to this view, and you can snap it. Now, if you don't have geometry that's laid out so that you have a point that comes here, then you can align it with the pivot point of this group, since that's also aligned in the center, in order to rotate these. Once you have that, you can go to top-down view and snap to the grid. Okay, D key down, X to snap to grid. Just going in this one axis, X over to the center grid, and there you have it. Now we have the animation control with the pivot point located at the back axle. Now in this case, since we want all of the geometry on here to move with this control, we're going to go right up to the top node here. Oops, select on my controller here. Let's just get rid of my grid so we can see better. I have my controller selected. Control, I'm going to select the Viper Geo everything in there, and I'm going to use the parent constraint. So spacebar down to get my marking menu up. I'm going over here to constrain and parent. In this case, the parent constraint option would be fine because we're using the pivot point of that controller set. So again, best practice, reset settings. We're going to use maintain offset. We're going to use translate all. We're going to use rotate all and add that group. So now if we have our control selected, we can tumble this car. Woo! And I'm getting a blow. So with that, the way to fix that would be we need to select all the other controls and parent those to the animation node as well. So let's go ahead and select those. Let's see, this one is not going to be selected because that is our root. Alright, so we have every controller selected except for the circle and the square, which we still need to rename. And now we're going to select the circle and parent. Alright, and that's just P on your keyboard. We'll parent those. So now what you have is all of the controls as children of the circle. So let's try that. Select on our node, and now we can tumble this vehicle in its entirety. Alright, as well as rotating that around the back axes. Alright, and again, sliding it. Alright, so we're good to go. Now we need to wire in the master control. Wiring in this control is the easiest one of all, since you have everything set up on the animation controller. Then you'll just shift control or shift select the global control, hit P on your keyboard, and now you can translate this vehicle. Oops, what we got going here? Oh, I have to put my control together. Let's go back and do that. we've created a square. So let's go ahead and combine those and come back here and parent that. So when I have that done, I'll come back. Alright, so I've created another spline here, and I'm going to simply select on my animation node and shift select the global node, the world placement node, hit P on my keyboard, and then that puts everything as a child to the translation node here. And if I select on the animation node, I can now apply animation for this vehicle and have that not affect the global node there. Alright, so there is one other thing that we want to do here on this rig, on the global node, and that is to put a scale constraint on there, simply because you can scale it, but you'll get a blown apart look. So it's very simple to put a scale constraint on there so that if you do for some reason need to scale your vehicle, that it can be done without a big headache. Some game code allows you to scale within the game code, so that's an option, I guess. I'm not sure why you would want to if you're working with specifics, specs to start with, but it can be done. So what we want to do is, with the controller selected, click on the Viper Geo node there with all the parts selected, everything selected, and then we want to come here to spacebar, constraint, scale, and again reset the settings. You want to maintain offsets, and then you want to constrain all axes. Add that, and now if you select that and try to scale it, everything's going to scale along with it, rather than seeing the other constraints tear apart your vehicle and the vehicle not scaling at all. Alright, so that's a lot more than I had expected to show you in this class, the modeling class, but it is a fairly complete rig, enough for you to be able to do just about any kind of animation keyframing that you want at this stage. If you get in there and play with some of the tools that I'm showing you and discover that you like animation, then you can go on and take an animation course, which is highly recommended. The more a modeler knows about how the car behaves, how the physics solutions are applied to the vehicle, it just makes you a better all-around artist and modeler. Now that we have our beginning rig, there's a lot more that you can do to your vehicle rigs, but we'll end it there for now. We're going to go ahead and make sure that our file is cleaned up and ready to go pass to the next person. So we're going to name our curves. Let's call it our global control global. Some people call it translation node. This is our circle, so this is our control animation node. Okay, and alright, so then what I like to do is click both of these and bring them into the same group, so that you have everything under one group. Okay, I think since this is associated with the actual shape, this is the top of the hierarchy, we're going to go ahead and group this one more time. And I'm just name this fiber rig. Oops.